Alright, so another day, another Sean Strickland controversy. Today, Sean Strickland came out with a video on Instagram saying that depression isn't real. And he came out with a bunch of tweets as well afterwards, expanding on it as well. And I'm going to play the clip and then I'll get into why he said it. So this is the clip.
Other people saying like, oh, middle depression.
So I'll play it from the start.
You guys, I know this is an unpopular opinion. Any other people saying like, oh, middle depression's a real thing, dude. No, it's not. No, it's not. Especially if you're like successful and you got a family and you're rich, like it's not a thing, dude. There are kids literally laying in bed dying of chemo right now that would do anything for one fucking more day on this planet. And you're looking in the mirror saying, oh, I'm sad. Shut the fuck up. You guys.
So that was a clip basically saying that people who have depression have like their problems are nothing compared to people with actual problems. Like he said, they're people like a child with cancer, stuff like that, like actual like proper real like terminal problems. Saying like, a kid with cancer would give anything for one more day or to get rid of any sort of illness. And the reason why he said this was in response to Poirier, because today Poirier came out in an interview basically saying that it was an interview by this Diary of a CEO guy, this Stephen Bartlett guy, who I've never really been a fan of. He just gives off this pretentious vibe. I just don't like the guy, but not for any real reason, it's just me. But basically he came out in this interview and it was the whole like explaining the aftermath of Poirier's arrest a couple of weeks ago at the airport. It's gonna be bad at the airport, you know what I mean? So that one where he fought with a police officer, basically saying, what happened and why he was drinking. And in this interview, he says that the reason why he was drinking on the flight was because of his father. He had thought of his father and how his father was homeless, and then Poirier tried to help him, but then his father like became homeless again. He got arrested and he's like one of these guys who just like you can't help because they won't let you help them, like a train wreck kind of person. And basically he said that he drunk because he thought of his father, and it just kind of got him really down and got him very like depressed or not feeling very well like mentally. And it was that and all sorts of things he was explaining on this interview. So you can go watch it. It's on this guy's YouTube channel. I'm not going to play the clip because it's like really long, and I don't want to like sit here and watch it. So yeah. And that's why Sean Strickland came out here, because Poirier is saying like I'm depressed and all that stuff. And there's other clips of Poirier saying, when he's not fighting, he's getting depressed because he has nothing to kind of work towards, all this stuff, right? And that's why Sean Strickland said this. And he also had these tweets where he came out saying this. He said, Dustin, I'm depressed, bro. What? You're rich and loved by thousands of people. You're not allowed to be depressed. What you did is got kicked off a flight and tried to fight a cop. Relax, it happens to the best of us. Hashtag, it gonna be bad, mate. N. So yeah, Strickland's tapped him with a joke. Anyway, so he said that. Then he said this. I just cannot understand depression. There are kids dying of cancer, going through chemo. They would give anything for one more day. But you, a grown-ass rich man, looks in the mirror and says, I'm depressed. Tell me why you're sad, rich man. Lamau. I don't know. I think that's typo. And then finally he came out and said this. Once I get done fighting and I ask myself, what will make me happy? I've already lost. Real happiness comes from acts of service to your family or community. If I'm in a position where I could care less about paying the mortgage and more on myself, that's what I'll focus on. So basically Sean Strickland, to kind of summarize his tweets, basically saying that depression isn't real because depression, I'm not going to try and put my own thing in this yet, right? But basically saying Poirier has no reason to be depressed because he's got no like real problems, right? He's got no real looming problems in terms of he's financially well off because of fighting. He has a family, he has a wife. I believe Poirier has 2 kids now, maybe even 3. He's a fan favorite, massive fan favorite in the UFC now. Even now that he's retired, people love Poirier, right? He's one of the most known fighters, especially because of the McGregor fights. All this stuff, right? People love Poirier. And it's like Sean Strickland's basically saying, you have all this stuff. Why are you sad? You're sad about, your dad or something. And it's like, Yeah, but you've also got your family. You've got your actual family now. Even if it's your dad and you can't help him, it's like, so what, right? You get people like that in life who you just can't help and you cannot do a thing to change it. But you've got your family, you've got your kids, you've got your wife, got people who love you all around the world, you've got money. You're never going to have to really care about money ever again. You're never going to have to care about bills. Poirier is like a multi-million. Poirier may even have like 10, like over tens of millions, right? Who knows, right? I'm just speculating, but he's definitely like a multi-millionaire, right? So Sean Strickland, obviously, he's one of these guys who, you know, he just kind of says it how it is, and I tend to agree. Like, this is pretty true, because in terms of when you're speaking about depression, what I'm gonna just move to this slide. I'm like picking what one. In terms of depression, it is kind of true that if you're depressed, you're only depressed because of your current situation. You're not, depression is, I'm sure maybe some of you heard this before, but it's like depression isn't like an illness. It's more of just how you're feeling because of your situation. That, if you know what I'm saying? It's like, if you look to the bad, you're going to feel depressed, right? If you're going to feel depressed, but if you look to the good, you're probably not, right? That's the reason why people get depressed, is because they just have a bad situation. And in relation to Poirier, he should really be thinking about the things he has now and not really anything else. I'm not saying Poirier's like ultra depressed now. Maybe he was just depressed then, or feeling depressed rather. I think feeling depressed is a better word than depression, because depression kind of just attaches this, like, it makes it seem like some sort of illness and stuff. Anyway, I'm not going to go too much into it. I'm not some sort of psychological expert, but I do have to agree with Strickland, because Strickland's had all this bad stuff, and you know, there was that video from Strickland basically saying, remember that video from Strickland where he got interviewed? I think it was by Theo Vaughn, and he started crying because of the stuff with his dad, and you know, everyone kind of jokes about that, about Sean Strickland's dad, and he was crying. I think that was before the DDP fight. What was it, like 3 years ago? The DDP, the first fight. Obviously, that's why when DDP at the press conference in their first fight, you know, he called him, what was that again? He said something about his dad, and you know, Sean Strickland just kind of got annoyed at it, and he went off and started saying the F word, not that F word, a different F word. And I think Sean Strickland, actually, I don't have it here, but Sean Strickland replied to someone saying, you know, is it not hypocritical? You're saying depression isn't real, but then you're crying in an interview. And Sean Strickland basically said that he had kind of built up this wall about his dad and his relationship with his father over the past like 20 years, and then because that got asked, it just kind of like, that wall just fell apart, and that's why he started crying. So he's trying to say it's not hypocritical, because that's like the one thing you can say about Strickland. It's like, how can you say depression isn't real, but then you're sitting crying on a podcast? And it's like, that's about like a traumatic experience. And basically that's what Sean Strickland said, basically that he had this wall built up and then it just tumbled down. So yeah, he's saying he's not hypocritical. But Strickland, it's just another like Strickland moment. You know, Strickland is kind of one of these guys who just, we've said it time and time again, he just does not care. He'll just say whatever he wants to say, regardless if it's a good idea or not. But I guess in some ways that's why we love him, because he provides entertainment, and sometimes, I'll be honest, including this, is like he does just kind of speak the truth. Like, as I said, Poirier has everything in life, a lot more than other people, a lot more, and to get wound up on one thing, if it was his dad or not fighting or something like that, you know, it's not, there's no reason to look at that rather than looking at everything you've got now. So yeah, Strickland, you know, Strickland just one of, I keep saying Strickland's one of these guys. He's just, he always has to come out with something, doesn't he? He's always coming out with something, but especially in a fight week like now, we have the McGregor fight week. He's coming out, he's bringing up Poirier. But yeah, anyway, that's the kind of video, or that's the video. Anyway, if you like the video, please like and subscribe. It really helps out. If you have an opinion about anything I said or you disagree, please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think, and I will see you later. Bye.